Fallout of that, of course, a criminal investigation being launched by the Delhi police on one of the touts that you see on your screens right now. It was a long process of digging in order to penetrate through this racket. This was a special investigation that was brought to you by our special investigation team. In fact, Deepak, one of the members of that team, standing by with more details here. Deepak, if you tell us how this all happened. Earlier we saw the process through which you were able to knock at several doors and you were let in order to convince these guys that, yes, you were a genuine case. In your opinion, how simple or difficult was it to actually get this whole process going? How long did it take also?
Well, Alistair, it took more than 2 months. We actually had a lead that such a racket is operating from North Block, from Rail Bhavan, and some employees of the PMO were also reportedly involved in the racket. So after we got this information, we started working on the pretext that we were looking for a Rajya Sabha seat nomination for a businessman, for a Delhi-based businessman. We approached these middlemen, and once we approached them, they were just too ready to offer a Rajya Sabha seat. They said that all you have to do is to shell out 25 crore rupees. They said we have to give 8 crore rupees as advance, and rest of the money after the job is done. They said that the money will be spent to buy MLAs and MPs who will be voting for these Rajya Sabha seats. So once we came in contact with these touts, we visited the Rail Bhavan where one of these touts were working. Then we also set up a meeting in the North Block where one of the other tout was working, and the sting happened the sting operation happened in the North Block only. Our reporter was taken inside without any security check, and the meeting happened at the reception on the first floor, which is just a stone's throw distance from the Home Minister's office. And it shows how openly and how freely these touts were operating from the North Block. This was first such investigation into this Rajya Sabha elections, which actually exposed how easy it was to buy a Rajya Sabha nomination.
Right, indeed, it happened at the time of the Rajya Sabha elections. Around that time is when we did this expose. In fact, joining us in the studio is S.K. Dutta, a political analyst. Thanks for staying with us right here in the studio. In fact, you heard Deepak there talking about how the money would be split, because this is a huge amount of money. 25 crore rupees would be split between the MLAs, MPs who perhaps would vote for this candidate. Is that difficult to buy? Because these are claims. Do you think that would actually happen?
Well, I really don't know whether the claims which they make can translate into reality. I really don't know. And if it does get translated into real action, then, as I said, it's a bad day for our democracy, and it's really a kind of a shame for our democratic process as well as our democratic system. And I pray to the Almighty that, it's not the case in reality. But then, having said that, I think still one has to look into the whole thing with a lot of seriousness. And as far as I understand, I think the government machinery, especially the Home Ministry as well as the Prime Minister's office, has to do a thorough investigation into the whole thing. Because what I understand is like it's a kind of a nexus, it's a nexus not only in North Block, not only in South Block, as a reporter
Indeed.
says that the meeting had taken place just next door to the Home Minister's office.
Right.
So these are very serious issues, and these are issues of concern. And what I understand is like at least and until there is a kind of a nexus right from the top to the bottom, such a thing cannot happen. And for a proper inquiry and for coming to a real conclusion about the whole thing, I think we just not only have to look into the whole thing threadbare at the helm of powers, not only in South Block or in North Block, but at the same time we will have to identify those people within the political parties also, who are actually helping out in this process. What I understand is like probably in every political parties there must be some black sheeps who indulge in, who indulges in this kind of activities and this kind of dubious role. And in a way it also brings in bad name to the political parties also, So it is the responsibility of all the political registered parties of our country to look into this whole thing with a hell lot of seriousness. And I think the political parties also should initiate an internal inquiry. and find out as to who are those black sheeps who actually indulge in this kind of dubious activities, and are there at all any MPs or MLAs involved in it, and if it is so, then they should be suspended or they should be expelled.
In fact, talking about black sheep, Deepak has a couple of interesting points to make. Remember, Deepak, we were talking about this as we were putting the story together about how there were several recommendations that came from high-ranking individuals that would be required in order for this whole process to go through. Tell us a little bit about those letters that would be signed by these so-called credible individuals.
Well, during the investigation, we received a set of documents also which had 11 letters signed by 11 MPs of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, wherein name of a businessman was recommended to the PMO for Rajya Sabha nomination. We tried confirming it with MPs, but we do not know whether the letters were genuine or fake. But of course, we have 11 letters which were actually given to a Chennai-based businessman who was promised a Rajya Sabha nomination by a set of touts. So it seems that these touts can be connected with some politicians who are ready to recommend names of businessmen without knowing them for Rajya Sabha nomination.
So a good bit of forgery also here, because like we importantly mentioned that we can't authenticate whether those letters were genuine or no, but that goes to say that these guys also know how to forge a good signature and a document.
Well, Esther, that's one aspect which is being looked into by the Delhi Crime Branch. They are investigating into the case. These two touts who've been caught on camera have been actually examined by the Crime Branch, and the investigations are still on. This is one fact that they are trying to ascertain whether the letters were genuine or were fake, or the signatures were actually fake. So this is one aspect which is being looked into by the police. But of course, the kind of confidence they showed, the kind of names they dropped, somehow indicate that it's not just about two touts. There's a racket, there's a nexus which is working, and of course some other employees of South Block, North Block and PMO could be involved in this racket, and plus they can have contact with some politicians also. Lester?
Right, S.K. Datta still in the studio with us. Mr. Datta, you talked about how really nothing surprised you here, but is there any one particular detail about this expose that really, in your opinion, would be shocking? Perhaps the price tag, perhaps how the money is allegedly divided between the MPs and the touts?
Yes, absolutely. That is something which is really shocking, and it is, I'm disheartened and sad by this episode. Together with that, what is most shocking for me is the so-called alleged letters, the forged letters which your correspondent is talking about. I think there has to be a thorough inquiry into that to find out about the genuineness of those letters, whether those letters are genuine or not, or whether those letters have any authenticity or not. This is something which needs to be thoroughly probed. And in case after a proper probe, if it is found that these letters are genuine, then I guess those MPs and MLAs should be taken into task, and probably those MPs and MLAs might be from different political parties. Then I understand that those political parties with whom these MPs or MLAs have a connection, those political parties also should be answerable to the society as well as to the polity of this country. That is one aspect. The second aspect is, like, together with that, I think this is a very, very big issue as such, because it really questions the credibility of our parliamentary system as well as our democracy, and that is at stake. It's at sale. I mean, if there is an authenticity to this scandal, then our democracy itself is at sale. And this is a very, very unhealthy development, and I think this has to be taken with a lot of seriousness, and there has to be a proper inquiry into the whole thing. The third aspect of this is like the damage which Indian democracy is having at the international level because of this, because we always claim that ours is the largest democracy and it is one of the vibrant democracy of the world. Now, if that is what we call vibrancy, then I don't want this kind of democracy. I mean, it's a shame if we have this kind of vibrant democracy in our country. And what I understand right from the childhood, I always used to remember about one small proverb in English, that there is no smoke without fire.
Right.
So probably there is a hell lot of smoke right from the top to the bottom, and this whole thing needs to be exposed. And that can be done only if there is a proper and independent and, non-biased kind of an
And a
inquiry.
thorough investigation. In fact, Dr. Datta, there are several layers to this story. Deepak is also standing by with more. Deepak, of course, we're talking about democracy for sale, but it's also security on sale, because it was how you got into North Block. That's a whole different story as well. If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Lister, the touts actually wanted to convince us that they actually had connections in the North Block. They were connected to the politicians to impress upon us. That fact, they actually set up a meeting in the North Block only, and then there was a person who claimed to be the personal security officer of Rajendra Prasad Bakshi, the MHA employee. He took one of our reporters, Manmohan Gupta, inside the North Block without any security checks. He was never issued a pass. His identity was actually never ascertained, and he was allowed inside the North Block. He went inside, held that meeting, came out. Nobody asked him about his identity or the motive to visit the North Block. The standard protocol is whenever you visit the North Block, you have to disclose your identity. You have to show a photo ID card. Then an entry is made, and it is reconfirmed by the reception employee with the person whom you are going to meet, and then a office specific pass is issued to you. No such protocol was followed in this case, and of course there is a huge security breach which is being looked into by the CISF, the agency which is responsible for guarding the North Block.
Deepak told us about a special investigation being launched here, a probe there, and he hopes that you see something would actually be done about this.
Yes, I'm hopeful, and I'm sure that something serious should be done about this. The second aspect, which Deepak also mentioned about, is the internal security angle. And I think this is a very serious issue, because if a tout can make your entry so easily into the helm of power, God forbid tomorrow if it's a terrorist or a militant, who tries to do in something dubious in that highly secured zone, he or she can do it just in a minute, if that is how the system works, and if there is so much breach of security, and if there is such huge amount of security lapses. So this angle also needs to be thoroughly investigated. And one important point which I would like to point out here is, like, we have always heard about corporate funding in political parties. And the gentleman about whom Deepak had mentioned about that businessman from Chennai, who was assured a Rajya Sabha seat for 25 crores.
Yes.
So this in a way proves that corporate funding has entered into our political system as well as our political parties in a big way, and I think this is a very big danger for our political institution as well as for our democracy as such. If we can buy in seats through money, then every business houses tomorrow would try to do the same thing, and then where is democracy at all? Where is the democratic system?
Absolutely
and what contribution or what role does the people of this country have in our democracy then?
Sorry, State of Affairs. Thanks very much for coming in. Dr. Datta, he's a political analyst, and also we have Deepak with us representing the Special Investigation Team. Great job, guys. Thanks very much indeed. Stay with us, lots more up ahead. Tennis player Somdev Devvarman breaks into the top 100 in the latest ATP Tour rankings.
At the helm of its 63rd year of independence, India is one of the youngest democracies and the third largest scientific and technical manpower in the world. But will we continue on this path to progress? NewsX and the CEO Club of India present India at 63, the path to progress. Join our panel of experts as we discuss India's economic plan for the next 20 years. Identify the potentials and anticipate the challenges in the future. On India at 63, the path to progress. 5th of August 2010, 3 p.m. onwards at the Taj Palace, New Delhi.
In association with Roka, the leading global bathroom brand. And New Prius, the planet's favorite hybrid. Supply chain partner Safe Express, India's fastest and largest supply chain company. And media partner Mail Today and Audience Matters.
Headline Recap is brought to you by Hyundai i10. Catch the eye.
strike. The last